Spoilers for Season 4, Episode 5. Turn away now if you haven't watched the episode. Who got shot? Wow, what a great ending, incredible ending. Now, it wasn't Howard. Closed captions reveal that Howard is the one who says, "Oh my God, they've been shot." Now, they is a great pronoun for this, because they could refer to many people, it could refer to one person. They've been shot. What do you guys think? I think it's only one person's been shot. Where was Howard when the gun went off? He was behind the three Olivers filming on a camcorder. It wasn't Charles or Mabel who got shot or fired the gun, or Trina Brothers, who's clearly visible in the background behind Charles and Mabel. So who do you think? Now, people have had access to these episodes up through episode 7 for weeks, so they know who's been shot. Me, I don't have access, so I want to speculate. And I speculate it was Glenn Stubbins. Why? Mainly because Glenn is standing where Oliver had been standing. In fact, Tawny Brothers tells her sister Oliver's not on his mark. And then her sister Trina picks up and moves Oliver. Look at these marks on the floor. I doubt Bev or Marshall would have been the character to get shot. I mean, they're suspects, and they're still suspects. Ooh, who do you think got shot? We got a great one for you this week. Let's solve Only Murders in the Building, Season 4, Episode 5, Adaptation. The trio face off against a collection of individuals who deceive, manipulate, and threaten as second nature. A Hollywood cast and crew. We'll be breaking down each episode for clues, suspects, and say it with me, red herrings on the hunt to learn who shot Sazz. Spoilers for the first 3 seasons and the first 5 episodes of Season 4 of Only Murders in the Building. If you haven't seen all these episodes, pause this video, complete the Sazz Murder Challenge in 12 minutes or less, and then come back and watch. Use the timestamps below to jump to the topic or suspect that you want to hear, and skip past stuff you don't want to hear. Coming up, we've got great feedback and another, I think pretty good, tinfoil hat theory. But first, we always look at this as the clues were presented, and we're looking at this mystery from the same angle as Charles, Mabel, and Oliver. But maybe let's look at it from a different angle. Let's hop in front of the keyboard and act like Marshall, and let's look at this mystery from the writer's point of view. And I mean the Only Murders in the Building writers. What if we were writing this show? What if we were creating these mysteries? How would we create clues for the audience to fall for and red herrings to lead them astray? I should point out I have my own Marshall story. I did sell a screenplay. I sold a script, which was made, incredible, and it became a not-so-good straight-to-video horror movie that you may have seen on HBO after 2 a.m. So let's think about it. How would we fool the audience? I think the easiest way to fake them is to mix up the clues. I would hide an important clue on both the if Charles was the target murder board as well as on the if Sazz was the target murder board. If Charles was the target, the actual target, well then I'd have the clues to why the killer did it on the if Sazz was the target murder board. You know, you'd keep them away visually from the audience. Similarly, vice versa, if Sazz was the actual target, I'd hide the clues to the killer on the if Charles was the target murder board. Once again, you're trying to make the audience connect dots that don't exist on the same board. If Charles is correct and there are 2 killers, again, a trick I'd do is have one of the killers be from the West Tower and one from Hollywood. Having 2 characters the audience would never suspect would be plotting together as the killer. Another thing I do, which Only Murders in the Building doesn't do often, is I definitely have the killer suspected early, but then leave a bunch of false information that clears them of suspicion. Has it done it for the Westies? Do you still suspect the Westies? What do you guys think? We're at the midpoint. We've got to solve this. The final thing I'd do is there has to be some emotion to this. Even in Season 2, which I groan about all the time still somehow, with Poppy Becky as the killer, there was like a lot of hubris and emotion as Poppy got dragged away. Which of these characters could bring emotion? For example, right now, the sister brothers are just straight comedy. There's no hubris to them. There's no emotion really to them. Think about Season 3. The producers had all sorts of jokes. They were kissing each other, mother and son. But still, there was emotion. You knew the mother cared for the son. Which of these characters could you see real emotion being pulled out of? Right now, Rudy, for example, is there any real emotion about Rudy? He's kind of a joke with Christmas all the time. Do you think he could be the killer? If he was the killer, could emotion be pulled from him? What do you guys think? We are at the midpoint. Tell us what you think. It's time for the opening credit Easter egg credit clues. There's footprints going east, footprints going west. In the closing credits, we see Bev's photo of an awards gala, as well as Jack Jonk. Bow. The episode title is Adaptation, which is of course named after the 2002 American crime drama film written by Charlie Kaufman, directed by Spike Jonze, with a great performance from Loretta Durkin. In the film Adaptation, the main character is a writer who has an identical twin. And at the end of this episode, most of the characters have twins or triplets. Which of the Pickwick triplets did it? Okay. As you've heard me say, I have a goal. Help us get to 10,000 subscribers. I know you're annoyed listening to me on each video begging for subscribers, saying we got to get to 10,000 subscribers. YouTube is kind of a stickler for this. They see that 83% of you guys who watch the videos don't subscribe. So because of that, they don't recommend this video to other people. I like more people in the Clue Crew, so if you haven't subscribed yet, I promise once we get to 10,000, I'll be quiet for a bit before YouTube starts bothering me again about get subscribers, get subscribers, get subscribers. So thank you so much if you have subscribed. It really does mean a lot. Before we run down the suspects, let's see what episode 5, the midway point, taught us about the victim, actor stunt double Sazz Pataki. On the night Sazz died, she called Bev Melon. She said, "There's a problem with your Only Murders movie. A big problem, and I can't say more than that." Now there's a bit of a head scratcher with this, because on Bev's voicemail, it reads that Sazz called Bev at 11:07 p.m. But wouldn't Bev's phone in Los Angeles tell her that the call came in at 8:07 p.m. Pacific time? Not the time from where the call was sent, 11:07, but instead what the time was where Bev's phone was, 8:07 p.m. Now, of course, maybe Bev's phone is saying she got the call at 11:07 p.m. Pacific time, but then in New York, that would have been 2:07 a.m., well after Sazz's body hit the incinerator. Looking at Charles's murder board, the shot happened at 11:08 p.m. Eastern. That time could only have come from the Westies because they heard the shot. The incinerator power surge we saw in episode 1 of this season happened at 11:19 p.m., so that's 11 minutes there. There's also a new bit of information I'm not sure we've heard before. Charles is missing a suit bag. If we want to go down the rabbit hole that Sazz faked her death, maybe she took off her fake bloody clothes and put them in Charles's suit bag. But okay, well, let's stay on track. In Sazz's shack at her stunt acting academy, there's a poster that says, "I love my job" on the wall. But of course, Sazz was retiring. On Charles's murder boards, there are so many great facts, including there's a timeline of Sazz's life, and it implies that she was Charles's stunt double in 1991. Now, in the Dudenoff apartment, we see a footprint from a tacky mat, a sticky mat, that the killer stepped on. Final thing, there are just so many funny things. The production crew is doing a great job. Under the Why Kill Sazz, some of the reasons include overly aggressive Emmy campaign, stealing someone's hairstyle, LA beef. We are doing a lot of screen grab reading this week. Now let's look at the suspects. We need to know the who, the how, the why, and the why now. Let's start with our first suspect, Irish Glen Stubbins. Glen ended up getting a job on the film. It's played as a joke, like he can't tell the difference between Marshall and Mabel. He sees Marshall and he says, "When did you grow the beard last?" So that's obviously a joke, but it could imply that Glen has terrible eyesight. He wouldn't be a good shooter. Or it could imply that Glen knew Marshall before he wore the fake beard. Bev Melon. Bev is a film producer, executive, but does she normally only produce animated sequels? The posters on her wall are for Ice Age 2, Garfield 2, Rio 2. Bev is there in the shack at Sazz's academy, the poverty cottage as she calls it. She claims she didn't realize the gun was loaded. A second gun being introduced does make me think of some of the crazy feedback I've received where they think there was no rifle shot from the West Tower and that Sazz was shot in Charles's apartment. What will Detective Williams find when she looks at that gun? Bev believes someone on the movie crew did actually kill Sazz. Bev has what I would consider the tightest alibi ever if she was in LA during the Most Powerful Women Under 100 celebration. There is no way Bev could have been in the Arconia to shoot Sazz. Bev passed on Barbie, so she's not that smart. Bev is already looking for another podcast to turn into a movie. All you need is a hook. Hook me, she tells Mabel. The Brothers Sisters. The directors are staging a marketing photo shoot for the movie promotion. This is before they've even shot anything in the film. Boy, this order seems a bit odd, but okay. They carry a case that is a perfect size for a rifle. They abuse their assistant, so we know they're good directors. As the podcast trio enter the marketing photo shoot, the Brothers Sisters say all the wrong words, saying this could be triggering. Shoot. Writer Marshall, and we should note that I had this wrong. I thought his last name was P. Pope. No, his last name is Pope, and his middle initial is P, so it's Marshall P. Pope. Marshall suffers from imposter syndrome. Marshall has a photo of Charlie Kaufman on his mirror. Now, Charlie Kaufman is the screenwriter of Adaptation. He must love Charlie Kaufman because he's actually got a yellow notepad stuck to the mirror, kind of breaking down points of Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. Not only that, on Marshall's wall is a poster for Blow Up, which is the title of next week's episode. Whew. Marshall is a fan of the podcast. He's very excited about it. Now, his alibi was he was doing stand-up in Los Angeles at the Lafiteria. And my biggest laugh in an episode filled with laughs was when no one wanted to watch his stand-up on YouTube. Brilliant. Jack Jonk, Mr. Bicep. He's a former Olympic swimmer. Big ass arms, big ass legs, big ass... You know what I'm talking about. Now, if you want some laughs, somebody on the production crew wrote this article. It is so hilarious. Jack Jonk has starred in some great films like Honey, I Shrunk Jason Momoa. He has a Tony nomination. A video of Hillary Clinton rubbing Jack's shoulders went viral. Now, he's on this show, New Orleans Family Burn Unit, with Loretta. And this is one of the many spin-offs of New Orleans Family Burn Unit, including Seattle Midwives, Potomac Podiatrists, and Atlanta Split Ends. The creator of New Orleans Family Burn Unit has created a bunch of other hit shows like Two Lesbians and a Baby Giraffe, Habeas Corpse, and Rosemary Kennedy's Lobotomy. Who's ever doing these? We're zooming in on them. We love them. Keep doing them, producers on this show. I don't really have any notes for Eugene Levy or Eva Longoria, and really my only note about Zach Galifianakis is they misspelled Zach's name on his card on the murder board. I love it. Howard quit his job to work on Death Rattle Dazzle. He was not in the unemployment line long. He's back. He's got a job here. He knows all the buzzwords like Gobo, Tweenie, Up and Over. Lester the Doorman. Another hilarious laugh in this episode. He was a model for Robert Mapplethorpe. Oh, LOL. Oliver Putnam. He's a man in his prime using his rock-hard bod to prove a murder timeline. He saw things, he did things, he failed. Should Oliver be jealous of Jack, Jonk, and Loretta? What do you guys think? Are we going to have another one of the podcast trio ending up single at the end of a season? Charles Hayden Savage. Charles wants to pay the appropriate American taxes. USA, USA. Man, this episode had a lot of laughs. Question for you guys. Will we meet the elusive Cookie who dated both Charles and Sazz because her photo is already up on the murder board? One thing that's neither here nor there, but there is this awkward shot of Charles lifting up his foot. It feels like it's there just to show the audience how someone touching that tacky mat might lift their foot up, and that's why there's the footprint in the Dudenoff apartment. Boy, it really sounds pathetic when you would introduce yourself as podcast producer Mabel. Don't tell anybody what I do. Mabel has a lot of great ideas. I mean, who hasn't dealt with people or buttons? Get out the Reynolds wrap. It's time for some tinfoil hat theories. And this week, we're talking about the tap-in theory. All right, everybody, let's make this a popular theory. Let's see if we can do it. Let's dive in. I'm just scratching the surface, just scratching a little bit of the tinfoil. I need all of us to help make this hat. So let's get into it. In the first episode of Season 4, Charles wonders aloud, where was Sazz? She didn't come back to the party. Where is she? And almost as if Sazz was listening, Charles gets a text on his phone from her phone, telling him that, hey, it's me, Sazz. I went back to LA. Some people have speculated that the timing of that was very suspicious. The killer was possibly in the secret passageway listening to Charles talk. That's how they knew to send the text from Sazz's phone at that exact moment. But of course, there is another option. Perhaps the killer has bugged Charles's apartment. Perhaps they installed a listening device, and even if they weren't listening every moment of the day, they were recording the podcast trio. Of course, recording them and getting them in their natural conversation, that would be a perfect way to make sure a movie script was accurate. The fly on the wall listening is a bug. Recording, taping. And Sazz's final message wasn't tap in. She was writing the word taping, and she died before she could finish that final G. Perhaps the device they were using to record the podcast trio was like a digital audio tape. Now, the digital audio tape, the DAT that I've used in the past, it's black. But who's to say you couldn't get DAT tape that was shiny, silver, reflective, and maybe looked like tinsel? Now, let's be honest. Illegally recording someone without their consent, it's totally against the law. But perhaps if they sign away their life rights, this invasion of privacy miraculously disappears, just like Sazz. What do you guys think? What do you think of the tap-in taping theory? I want to hear it. We're halfway through. We've got to get justice for Sazz. Go down in the comments on YouTube, type them up. You can reach out to us on social media at @PHQ. That's the word double, the single letter P for podcast, HQ for headquarters, at @PHQ on Twitter, Instagram, Threads, Facebook.com/PHQ. Hello at doublepmedia.com if you want to send an email. Now it's time for your feedback. We got a lot of feedback like this from Amber as well as from RDMN, who wrote, A. Machado, the Instagram account that liked Sazz's picture. Could that be Anna Machado from the Sauce family? We don't know their last name. Like I said, Amber wrote that, RDMN wrote that. I think that is a brilliant idea. Why haven't they told us the Sauce family name? A lot of people also wrote in, like Dr. Nazir, wrote in and said, Dr. Maggie from the Stunt Bar is a chiropractor, and she's obviously strong enough to carry Sazz's body to the incinerator. Many people believe Dr. Maggie is Helga. How do they make that connection? I don't know. Write down in the comments and let me know. Why are you making that connection? Now, Love, Peace, Joy gave us this feedback. We've talked about how Rudy isn't wearing Christmas gear in the photo, in the Dudenoff photo. Love, Peace, and Joy mentions, hey, did you notice that Mr. Fish doesn't have his eye patch in the group photo? That's one of the few times we've seen Vince Fish without his eye patch. The other time was when we knew him as Stink-Eye Joe, the first time we met him, from Charles's apartment. Finally, Nolan wrote this. Now, again, we're focusing on the movie crew for a bit here. A couple episodes back, we said, well, would Paramount allow a killer to be one of the characters working for Paramount on the show? Nolan wrote, Only Murders in the Building is produced by Hulu, which is owned by Disney. I should mention that Hulu is owned by a couple other companies besides Disney, but let's continue forward. Why would Disney advertise their competitor Paramount? They could have had the fictional movie produced by 20th Century Studios, which Disney purchased and now owns, and Hulu works with 20th Century Studios. I think the reason they are including Paramount is because the killer is someone employed by Paramount within the show. Disney is very protective of their image and wouldn't let a killer work in their studio or adjunct studio like 20th Century. Nolan, I think you're exactly right, but I'm pretty sure now Paramount is one of the few studios that actually has a home base in Hollywood anymore. Everybody else, like Disney's up in Burbank, Warner Brothers is up in Burbank, Sony is down in Century City. I'm pretty sure that's where they filmed, was on the Paramount lot. Would Paramount say, yeah, come film on our lot, and by the way, make one of your characters a killer? Still a good question, but Nolan, I think that's good feedback. Guys, we're at the halfway point. Like I said, we got to get justice for Sazz. Who did it? I've got a poll up on the YouTube community page. Put your vote in, put your thought in. We'll be back next week for Season 4, Episode 6, Blow Up. A documentary film is made by the brothers sisters. See you next week.